Walt Disney Studios Park is an absolute abomination to the Walt Disney Company. How dare they call this a Disney park when it looks like this? The park originally opened in 2002 as a Hollywood backlot style theme park, packed full of sound stages and attractions themed to movies, productions, and behind the scenes. It was loosely patterned after Disney's Hollywood Studios, which opened in 1989. That park, of course, originally had an MGM theme, and this one was going to have that too, but those plans got canceled when the Walt Disney Company hit some major financial issues. The very quick abridged backstory of this park is that when Disneyland Paris originally opened as Euro Disney, the park didn't perform how the Walt Disney Company originally hoped. They spent all this money and they were afraid it was going to end up being a total loss. Not very popular, but the problem was they were contractually obligated to build a second park, and so they cheaped out big time and created this sad excuse of a theme park. It's like maybe a fourth of the size of the main Disneyland Paris park and only has a handful of rides. And those handful of rides are not done very well. We're looking at cheap theming, no cohesion between any of them. And it's one of those things you walk away from and you're like, wow, this place is just kind of sad. And clearly the people at Disney think that too, because in 2018, Bob Iger announced a huge €2 billion expansion planned for this park so that they can actually turn it into something that isn't a total dump. That plan was in the form of Avengers Campus, a Frozen Land, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. One of those has since opened, the other is currently under construction, and the last one has supposedly been canceled. So we'll have to wait and see what becomes of that area that was originally going to be home to Galaxy's Edge. Maybe it'll still somewhat be Star Wars, but in a different form. Some rumors suggest that they might go with like the Lion King as that next themed land. That'd be kind of cool. I went to Walt Disney Studios right after Avengers Campus opened, and actually, if you want a full in-depth look at that land, there's already a full review of that specific area already on this channel. Please go check that out if you want to hear some details, because that goes a lot more in depth. This video is going to be speaking broadly about the park as a whole. So let's talk about what it's like to visit Walt Disney Studios. So when you enter the resort, you have the main Disneyland Paris park to your right. For this, you go to the left, you see a bunch of these tan buildings, very much in the style of a movie backlot. It's the same sort of mindset that they had when they did like the front half of Universal Studios Florida, but that park did it a lot better. Here we see a bunch of plain, kind of ugly tan buildings, and I guess they just expected the guests to be okay with it because it looks authentic. But newsflash, sound stages are kind of unattractive. They're big warehouses. That's why we see places like Universal straying away from that sort of thing. Even at Disney's Hollywood Studios, they're doing the exact same thing. You mainly get that look in the front portion of the park, that entry experience. To the left, you'll see the iconic water tower. To get to all the attractions, you first have to pass through this indoor area. Very much has this old LA theme. Lots of different restaurants, neon signs, and I actually really like this area. The interior of the building looks great, but the problem is it kind of sets your expectations to be different from how the rest of the park is. Like, this is a fun vibe. Theming looks great, and then you step outside, and I expected to see this nice big long main street with a bunch more buildings, maybe some iconic structure dead ahead. You know what I'm talking about. Instead, the park just ends. When you step out of that building, you have like a little plaza right here, and that's it. From there, the park goes to the left and to the right. It's weird because when you walk out, you're essentially looking at a grassy field and some like construction walls. Now, that's what we see at the moment. In a couple of years, when they open up Frozen, that's where that will be. There will be a long pathway there leading to this big lake, and you'll see the big Frozen land dead ahead, and then those two expansion plots on either side. So at the moment, this park is very much a work in progress. But the thing is, it has been a work in progress ever since they opened this thing. I think they've been trying to figure out what this park is. It's got this lost identity. And so as a result, everything is just very unorganized chaos. It's like they had a plan, they realized the plan sucked, so now they're going with a new plan, and we're currently seeing a little bit of both. So what does the rest of this park look like? Well, when you go to the left, you're going to hit Avengers Campus. And that's pretty much all that you have to the left. That's the left side of the park. At your 10 o'clock is Tower of Terror, which is fun. Great attraction. To the right is when you get to that mishmash of all these like bad attractions. Many of them themed to Pixar characters, but I like to call them mini lands because they didn't really commit to any of them. They just kind of threw them all together. Like, I would expect something like that from like Six Flags in their Looney Tunes area. But Disney? Really? So let's go through some of these notable attractions, almost all of which I did not enjoy. First up, we have Crush's Coaster. This is an okay ride. The problem is it is a bad fit for Disney. It has absolutely horrible capacity, and so it is probably the longest line you're going to find at the resort. It's got a cool looking station, and the ride experience starts off with some nice little theming, but after that, it's just a basic Maurer spinner. I've done tons of them around the world. They're solid rides, but it doesn't make any sense here. The roller coaster next door is even worse. This is called RC Racer, and it's an Intamin surf rider. Disney built a shuttle coaster at their park. One train. There's one train on this ride. Seats 20 people. Disneyland Paris is the most visited theme park in Europe, and the park next door has a ride that has even worse capacity than Crush's coaster. Why on earth they thought that was a good idea is beyond me. But the sad thing is, that's not even the worst ride in the park. Meet Cars Road Trip. This is a temporary attraction purely added to increase park capacity. They load up guests in a tram and send them down through the old Catastrophe Canyon and put in some crude props along the way for the Cars films. We skipped this one because why would we waste our time? But look up any video online, you'll be shocked that this is at a Disney park. It doesn't meet their standard that they have set with all of their other quality attractions. Some other rides. We have Ratatouille. This is a trackless dark ride. If you've ridden the one at Epcot, it's the exact same. This one came first. I think it was cool when it opened, but since then, trackless technology has just come so far that this one really does not stack up. It's a pretty lackluster experience in my opinion. At this park, it is one of their better attractions, but I just feel like they did not use that technology the best that they could. You spend 90% of the time just staring at a screen, you know? Another dark ride in the park is Web Slingers over in Avengers Campus, and that is just awful. I don't know what on earth they were thinking when they came up with this thing. Again, go check out the Avengers Campus review if you want to hear more about this, as well as Flight Force. That's their rock and roller coaster rethemed for Avengers Campus. Got a fine layout, but the overlay is just so bad, and Disney should be ashamed of it. But supposedly it's going to close soon because even the Disney park's upper management wasn't very happy with it either, so they want to do some updates. At least that's the word on the street. I hope that's the case. I don't think there's any hope for Web Slingers though. That's probably going to stay the same. I think kids will like it, but as someone who loves Marvel and Spider-Man, they did that character dirty there. The saving grace in this park is Tower of Terror, by far. It's got the same setup as California's, where it doesn't switch shafts to do the drop sequence. It still has that Twilight Zone theme, but it did a couple things different here. During our sequence, we had the little girl from the pre-show that is like creepily singing the song and warning you. It's really spooky. I quite enjoyed it. To me, that's the only reason I would want to return to this park, at least until Frozen opens. Because I do hope that that land will be well done. It looks like it's going to be nice. I like to think they'll have that standard of theming that we've seen at so many of their other parks around the world. Walt Disney Studios is just the odd one out. They're the runt of the litter, they got the wrong end of the stick. And it's a shame, because that park that's right next door is amazing. Wonderful place. And Walt Disney Studios just looks embarrassing being right next to it. The addition of Avengers Campus helped, even though it's not amazing. I don't know if I can imagine this park without it. And I heard what was there before with like Armageddon was even worse. So hopefully they're going in the right direction. But in my opinion, they still have a long ways to go if they want to fix this place up. So do I recommend going to Walt Disney Studios? Not really. If you're limited on time, just do the main Disneyland Paris park. The only reason I'd really recommend this place is like if you're a big fan of Tower of Terror, which unfortunately I am, which is like half the reason why I want to go here, then yeah, that's a reason to visit. But when a one-day ticket to Walt Disney Studios, if you're just doing that park, is $124, that should be a crime. Even paying that much for the other park is pretty expensive, but geez, let me tell you, that ain't worth it. Don't waste your time. I've been to almost all of the Disney parks at this point. I'm just missing the 2 in China. Literally any of those other parks are better than this one. And if you're limited to the theme parks in France, go spend your money at Parc Astérix instead. That place is incredible. So let me know down in the comments below if you've been to Walt Disney Studios in Paris, France, if you agree with the points that I brought up. And of course, stay tuned for more park reviews here at Coaster Studios, and we'll see you next time.